This UFO followed a Boeing 747. Several UFO encounters have been recorded over the years, some even photographed or taped. Most people have always been skeptical of these sightings and have a hard time believing them. This particular event, however, is narrated by quite authentic sources and was confirmed by many. On Monday, 17 November 1986, Japan Airlines Flight 1628 was journeying from Iceland to Anchorage during a Paris to Tokyo flight. Captain Kenju Taruchi, with a flying experience of more than 29 years and 10,000 flying hours, was in command of this jumbo jet. The crew included two other men, co-pilot First Officer Takanori T, and flight engineer, Second Officer Yoshio T. Around 5 p.m., at an altitude of 35,000 feet over the clear Alaska weather, Captain Kenju spotted two flying objects to his left that were 2,000 feet below them. He first thought those were military aircraft. The flying objects preferred staying on the left, covered in absolute darkness. At 5:18, they changed positions. Initially moving parallel to it, they then drove in front of the jumbo jet and flew just 500 meters ahead of Flight 1628. Captain Kenju reported feeling heat coming from the two glowing aircraft and that they were smaller than his cargo carrier. Upon inquiring from the Anchorage Air Traffic Control, the first officer was told that there was no traffic near Flight 1628. The Anchorage Center could not detect any other aircraft in the vicinity of Flight 1628 on their radar. On further discussion, the first officer told the center about the aircraft having nav and strobe lights, which were white and yellow, and that the aircraft neither looked civilian nor military. The two suspicious flying objects then switched positions again and flew on either side of Flight 1628. At 5:23, both aircraft disappeared into the horizon, but something much more shocking was yet to occur. Another aircraft, about twice the size of the jumbo jet, flew parallel to it at a distance of 13.9 kilometers. Yet again, nothing showed up on the radar at the air control office. The crew wanted to get as far away from the unidentified flying object as possible. The Air Control Center readily granted their request, and Flight 1628 lowered its altitude from 35,000 feet to 3,100 feet. The enormous aircraft kept up with Flight 1628. The crew was then asked by the air traffic control to make a U-turn and see what happens next. They followed the instructions and turned the airplane 360 degrees around. The aircraft could no longer be seen. It had disappeared. However, a radar at Elmendorf Air Force Base detected something that was following Flight 1628, and they immediately notified the Anchorage Center about it. Japan Airlines grew concerned as the gigantic aircraft still followed the plane. The Anchorage Center offered Flight 1628 military help, but the captain refused due to his prior knowledge of a UFO incident in 1948. The Anchorage Center then instructed United Airlines Flight 69 and some other airplanes to fly near Flight 1628 and report any unusual air traffic. Nothing was reported. Looked like the suspicious aircraft was gone. At 6:20, Flight 1628 safely landed at the Anchorage Airport, Alaska. Captain Kenju was fired and assigned a desk job for talking to the media about this strange encounter, and for citing that the object was a UFO in an official Federal Aviation Administration report. Only years afterward, he was reinstated as a pilot. The Federal Aviation Administration consulted John C., the chief of the Accidents and Investigations Branch, regarding what to tell the media about the whole UFO situation. John C. refused to believe any of that and thought it was rather a stealth bomber. A day later, a meeting was held at Federal Aviation Administration in which Vice Admiral Donald E. was briefed about the Flight 1628 encounter with a mysterious object. The meeting was attended by representatives of the FBI, CIA, and President Reagan's scientific study team, among many other notable authorities. A presentation was prepared sometime after the meeting. All attendees were instructed to keep the incident a secret and that this meeting never happened. According to John C., the data recorded on the radar was the first ever data recorded of such nature. Put simply, a UFO was detected and recorded on the radar for the first time in history. All the data, radar detections, voice records, videotapes, and exchanges was taken into possession by the Federal Aviation Administration. John C. had somehow managed to retain all this data in his office. Target printouts of the computer data were discovered in his office, with the help of which all targets could be reproduced that were in the sky at that time. After 3 months of investigation, on 5 March 1987, a press conference was conducted by the Federal Aviation Administration in which they released the outcomes. The Anchorage Air Traffic Center's initial suggestion of the aircraft being a UFO was dismissed completely. The Federal Aviation Administration Public Information Officer stated that there was no UFO, and what followed Flight 1628 was actually a split radar image. He explained that Federal Aviation Administration did not have sufficient material to confirm what it was that followed the jumbo jet, and that they were unable to support the descriptions of what the crew witnessed. Despite the official announced results of the investigation, it should be noted that the Anchorage Air Traffic Control Center and the Federal Aviation Administration confirmed seeing unusual activity on their radar screens the very next day after the Flight 1628 incident. Government radar picked up the object that Captain Tarucci claimed to be following in his Boeing 747 cargo jet. The captain was able to make a drawing of the mysterious aircraft. A giant walnut-shaped object with big bulges above and below, a wide flattened brim. It is also a striking point that, as per the report produced by Federal Aviation Administration investigators, the crew was normal, professional, rational, and not under the influence. The crew had a combined flying experience of about 46 years. These facts minimize to a great extent the possibility of the crew lying or attempting to create drama. Added to that, the stealth bomber was still in its developing stage at that time. According to the Federal Aviation Administration reports, Flight 1628 was followed for at least 32 minutes, but Captain Kenju said it felt much longer than that. He said he was followed for 400 miles and that the crew wanted to avoid whatever it was at all costs. Kenju also said that all their attempts to be rid of the chasing aircraft seemed futile and that they came pretty close at times, even reaching within 5 miles of the jumbo jet's range. He described the flying objects as moving swiftly and stopping abruptly from time to time. Captain Kenju joked that his chartered cargo plane was being followed because they were carrying Beaujolais, a very famous wine made in France, and the extraterrestrials might have wanted to have a taste of it. After the 1628 flight incident, 2 more UFOs were sighted. On 29 January 1987, an Alaskan Airlines aircraft reported seeing a UFO. The very next day, January 30th, another sighting was reported by a U.S. Air Force aerial refueling aircraft. What do you think really happened with Flight 1628? Was the crew telling the truth? Did the Federal Aviation Administration conceal something from the media and the general public to avoid panic? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more entertaining content.